topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
This is Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. Do you want to live a more fulfilling life? Do you want to live your legacy and achieve your personal, professional, and financial goals? Well, coming up on Divya Parekh's Beyond Confidence, you will hear real stories of leaders, entrepreneurs, and achievers who have stepped into discomfort, shattered their status quo, and are living the life they want. You will learn how relationships are the key to achieving your aspirations and financial goals. Moving your career or business forward does not have to happen at the expense of your personal or family life, or vice versa. Learn more at www.divyaparekh.com, and you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. This is Beyond Confidence, and now here's your host, Divya Parekh.
Good evening, listeners. So thrilled to be here with y'all. Monday evening, yes. So a couple of housekeeping things for those of you who have got the copy of my books. Thank you, thank you, thank you. For those who have not, you can check it out in our blooper. Down there, it is Expert to Influencer and the Entrepreneur's Garden. And of course, if you like, you can get any of the other books that I have written. So do get your books because profits of the books are dedicated to entrepreneurs impacted by COVID-19. And we do need that. We need to support these folks. And also, folks, if you can donate 1 hour of your time every month, just 1 hour of your time, that would be awesome. And when I talk about 1 hour of your time, that is unconditionally to whoever you want to donate it to. And be engaged. Be part of the community because that goes a long way, folks. So let's bring on our guest for today. It's Armineh and Eileen. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Absolutely. So Eileen, why don't you share with us a bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a Latina, Chicana, which is Mexican-American. And I've had the privilege to have a long career in the salsa music and dance industry, which has brought tremendous joy into my life, but not just into my life, into the life of everyone who's been surrounded by the music and dance that is presented. So I just came back from a big salsa anniversary party in Washington, D.C. So I was dancing all night in Washington on Saturday and in Baltimore last night, and I rushed back here. But I have to say, you stay young. You stay young when you dance and when you love what you're doing. So that's just a little bit about my present. If we want to talk more about my past, I'll be happy to do that.
Well, fascinating. And it's awesome that you're dancing and staying young. So thank you for sharing that. And Armineh.
Yes, my story is a little more complicated. I have Armenian heritage and I'm Christian born in the Middle East, a Muslim country. And my passion was Arabic music, which has nothing to do with my own personal, with our culture. And over the years, I've done financial consulting and wealth management, but on the side, I started taking dance classes, Arabic belly dance classes. And it's a taboo, as a matter of fact, to belly dance if you're from a Middle Eastern family, especially if you're from a respectful family. Alongside the way, I took classes, and after a lot of emotional upheaval, at some point, I decided that I was going to perform in public, which I did. And eventually, I started writing stories, and I started producing and creating. And so now I'm the artistic and executive director of Evolution Dance Theater, and we produce multicultural, multidisciplinary, and multimedia Broadway-style shows. But
Very nice.
Gone.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
All of that. Thank you.
So let's travel back a little bit in time, where Armineh, you said that you were born also in a Middle Eastern country, like in Armenia?
No, actually, I was born in Iran. Armenia is a Christian. I have Armenian heritage, which is a Christian country, but I was born in Iran. So all those Arabic countries, Islamic countries, Iran, Iraq, Lebanon, Jordan, they're all like, it's a taboo, really. So I rose above the culture, and I really, my passion for dancing and my love for dancing, I was always hiding behind consulting. It wasn't easy for me.
Right.
Yeah.
And Eileen, how about you?
Well, in our culture, it's as natural as learning to walk. And in fact, people say, how long have you been dancing? Well, ever since I could stand up, because if you notice, any baby reacts to music by moving their body. It's just when we get older that we're told we're not able to dance because of restrictions. However, in the Latino culture, this is part of almost everyday life because you hear music a lot. My father taught me how to dance when I was about 5 years old, and I was blessed with really great rhythm as a little girl. And so he would just tell me over and over, keep the step, keep the step, keep the step. And we'd be doing these things. And magically I would come back and we would be in sync. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to remember that. I will never get out of step. And so in the Latino culture, music is part of cleaning on Saturdays. Okay. It is. It is part of every festivity. It's part of every picnic, every backyard barbecue. It's part of, when you're bored, it's just part of what we do. And when you hear the music, you have to react by dancing. So that's the culture I grew up in. And I'm very happy to say that this has now permeated the entire globe. There are now salsa congresses every weekend,
right, absolutely,
in the world.
Yep. So, Eileen, when you were growing up, and we'll come back to all this. Let's learn a little bit about y'all, and we'll get into the culture and all that.
Okay.
So, question for you: what was the first dance that you learned from your dad?
Rumba, and rumba is what you dance when you hear a song like "Bésame Mucho." That's a song that a lot of people recognize. It's a slow romantic song, and you sway like this. You sway and quick, you sway, quick. And that was the basis of dancing almost all of the Latin dances. It's all counted in eights. Of course, we don't count. When you learn to dance just organically, and as a natural process in your life, you don't count anything. Later on, when I became an instructor, I had to learn how to count things for students. So that taught me how to dance danzón, which is a Cuban dance style and a Cuban music style. And most of the dancing, the Latin dancing, many of the dances are Cuban born. So that I said, oh, all I have to do is make it faster. And I'm like, oh, wow, same rhythm, but different tempo. So from that basic learning of the rumba, the slow romantic music, I was able to just increase the tempo and make my rhythm go along to the increased tempo.
Mm-hmm. So Armineh, now, what is it that you recall specifically? Is there any remarkable moment in your childhood?
What I remember is when I was probably around 7 years old, we had gone to the Caspian Sea for vacation, and I heard this mesmerizing, haunting music. And I went closer and closer, and it was a bagpipe with accordion and something else. There were 3 instruments in one, and I was just mesmerized. And there was a big crowd, and a few people were dancing in the middle. I guess I must have been very enthusiastic, because my uncle said, why don't you go dance in the middle? I said, no, I'm not going. But he said, go. And it didn't take much convincing. And I did, because I always feel that we hear music in three ways. One is through our body, one is through our soul, and one is through the ears. And I was told, actually, that I learned how to dance before I was able to walk. So I always felt the music. But that particular day, when I was in the middle, everybody cleared the center. I was the only one. I gotta admit, I loved the attention. It was an unbelievable feeling, and that was not an Armenian music. That was from south of Iran and Arabic music. And later on, when we traveled to another part of Iran another year, I was just in love with Arabic music. It's very, very rich. And apparently I knew how to dance, but when I started taking classes, I didn't know the muscles in the body, some of the muscles that we had, because I was still fit and I was in sports. It's a very delicate dance. It depends how you also portray. But dancing in the family is very different than performing. I was the hired entertainer. That was the part that was very difficult. And because I thought no culture or society can dictate what I can or cannot do, which I'm glad I did, because it developed into all these big shows. But I love salsa, by the way. I love Latin music as well. And I think dance is very important for us. It's not very easy to go out there and just use all of your body to express yourself. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot to harmonize with the audience, and it's just a give and take.
Absolutely. Definitely a good point. And Eileen, as you were learning dance from your dad, do you recall any moments where you were just like, okay, this is dance and I'm just giving myself to it? Any moments like those?
Well, for me, I just felt like, oh, me and my dad are dancing. Wow, this is great. And we're in harmony. We're in sync. I'm like, wow, this is tremendous. And he was very proud of his little girl that could keep the rhythm throughout an entire song. So that served me very well. Later on, I would say when I was about 7 or 8, I started dancing Mexican folk dance and Mexican fiestas because I'm Chicana. And one of the things that I remember is they made me be the boy because I could not shake my shoulders. So my partner got to be the girl and I had to be the boy. And I'll tell you what, I can shake my shoulders. I learned it soon thereafter. So what my father did was 2 things. Taught me how to dance, but he also taught me how to listen to music. And I guess when he was in school, they had music appreciation and they were told to listen to every single instrument in the music you were hearing. And so I listened to music very intently. I have a very good ear for music, even though I'm not a musician. I work with a lot of musicians, and a lot of times they ask me, hey, how does this sound? And, what do we need? And right now I'm judging a singing contest, and, I can tell when it's on and when it's off. So what my father did is so precious to me, giving me that love of dance and music that's carried me forward, all this way in my life.
That's phenomenal, Eileen. So, Armineh, as you kind of grew up dancing and loving the dance, what was like, you have talked about finances. Did you stay with the dance throughout, or did you just move towards finances into your career first and then go back to dance?
Before I start about that, I just wanted to add that I was normally participating in school annual performances, which was dancing and acting and all that. But I came to Canada as a teenager to go to school. And when I came here, we were homesick. I came with my younger sister only, and we couldn't speak English. We were homesick. It was just her and I. And we adapted very quickly, went to school, made new friends. And after I graduated from university, I fell into the financial world, a male dominated industry. And I loved it. I have done that for about 25, 30 years. And I actually, during those times, dancing was a hobby. I started taking classes, and once a week became twice a week, 3 times a week, then every day, and then private classes. I was also learning about advanced movements and performance, Middle Eastern, because Middle Eastern dancing is not just belly dancing. There are a variety of different dances, dance forms. And also I took other dance forms, like I went to classes for modern and jazz, and I would go to Latin clubs as well, because Latin is a little bit different because you have to be led, and that was a difficult thing for me to be led. I always wanted to control. So what happened was, a few years after I was in the financial business, I started taking classes, and I was well established in my financial business when I started performing. My parents didn't want to, they weren't happy about that. My father didn't even want to know that I was taking classes, let alone performing. A few years later, they did come to Canada to live. And but I wasn't going to budge. That's what I wanted to do. So I performed for a couple of years, and then I actually got tired, because you have to put on a show. You have to put on glamorous makeup. That's how I presented myself, glamorous makeup and the costuming, and you're high. Like, I'm the show, I'm high after like half an hour, and then what you do, you have to take off all your makeup, go to sleep. No, I want to party all night. So it wasn't working well with the rest of my schedule. And I did that alongside. And frankly, I was hiding behind financial planning and consulting. And I always said dancing was a hobby. So now that I have retired from the financial industry, I am actually pursuing the shows much more, let's say, intently. And hopefully we're going to Vegas with our show. The last one was very good. Yeah, it was called Follow Your Heart. It took about 100 people to produce that show. And we had an international cast of different dancers, actors, musicians. I'm very excited with that. I have to put my glasses on if we're going to read something here. Sorry.
Well,
sorry.
We are here as we are, so it's okay. You can put on glasses. You can just be yourself.
Mute myself, sorry?
No, I'm saying you can put on your glasses or just be yourself. Doesn't matter.
I'll be myself, yes. Is my voice okay, or it's echoing?
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
It's good? Okay.
So, Eileen, share with us, can you expand a little bit? What is Chicana? And as you grew up, what was your career? Was it in dance all the years? And
yes, Chicana is a term of identity that came about when civil rights were prominent in the forefront in the late 60s and early 70s. In fact, that's how I was able to attend college. And I very deeply brought that Chicanismo into my own life experience. And by the way, I was in a dance company called the National Chicano Dance Theater in Denver, and we toured for a couple of years. So I actually realized my dream of becoming a professional dancer. And it was something that one of my teachers laughed at when I was in junior high, after asking us all to write what we wanted to do when we grew up. And I wrote that I wanted to be a dancer. And he told me, that's just a dream. You have to get real. Well, I didn't listen. And I just went ahead and auditioned. Actually, when I went to college, I started taking ballet and modern, and then, a lot of Mexican folklore classes and some Spanish dance, etc. Then auditioned for the National Chicano Dance Theater. and was very proud to be part of that dance troupe. We did a 4-part series with ancient Indian dance, and then we went into like the Pachuco era, which was like the Zoot Suiters, and then we did the traditional Mexican folk dance, and then we did more modern Latin dance to composers like Carlos Santana. So that was a very big part of my life, and I stopped performing a long time ago. I started teaching in 1976, and after I left the National Chicano Dance Theater, I came back to Ohio and started choreographing and teaching for the local dance group here. And then when I got to Washington, D.C., I surmised that I had a very easy way, a very simple way for people to learn how to dance salsa. And I have literally taught tens of thousands of people to dance at places like the terrace of the Kennedy Center, the Millennium Stage many times, National Geographic, most of the Smithsonian institutions. And then, of course, as a nightclub promoter, I taught dances. I taught dancing before all the music began. And so I know that I changed many people's lives for the better, because they had a new group of friends, a new community to belong to, and they were able to participate in this massive joy on a weekly basis, because in Washington, D.C., you could go out dancing salsa every night of the week.
So when you say you could go out, you mean that is it true even now, and there are that many salsa clubs?
Not quite as many, but you still can find different salsa clubs every night in Washington, D.C. It's still rip-roaring over there.
That's fantastic. So, Armineh, tell us a bit about your journey in the financial world. As you mentioned, in a male-dominated world. How did you thrive in there?
When I got into the industry, I thought it was fascinating. The markets up and down, and what happened actually was I was in my 20s, and a lot of white males would give me all their money in one sitting. And I'm thinking, this is great. I think I must have had that trust, the knowledge, and I think I'm a little authoritarian the way I come across, I don't know. But I was very interested to make sure that when they retire, their money is good, or when they're passing on, the legacy stays. I worked quite intently to make sure that they're in safe hands. And after many, many years, Divya, I found out one of the reasons I really loved financial consulting and wealth management was the one-on-one interactions with people. Mm-hmm. Because they ended up telling me everything about their life, almost all of them, 95% of them. I've had at least over 1,000 clients over the years. It's hard to manage, so sometimes I would have other colleagues look after them. But it's the one-on-one that makes it more interesting. And that's why when I retired from the financial industry, coaching business was very natural to me. Everybody was asking my opinion, what they should do in their lives. And I have a 4 cornerstone philosophy of life, which is based on physical, emotional, spiritual, and intellectual. And so it was a natural move to go to my company's Wealth and Wellness Global. Evolution Dance Theater is a different business. And I think I just love that one-on-one interactions. I thought that if I go global, it's better. I can get into social media, but I find it's very nice, but it's kind of far. You don't get to be close unless you make close contacts. And that's how we are able to make impact, in my opinion. So I love the financial business. Back to your question. it was just interesting. I was always good in math. I was always good in figures, and I love to learn more. So you have to keep at it. It's not boring because I get bored very easily. You have to have credits. I have many financial designations, but I gave up all my licenses. I still have my designations. And it's just different. It's like using your right brain, left brain. It's just different. I love the financial world, and I love the creative world, let's call it.
Absolutely. So basically what you're telling is that you form that relationships with people. And of course, when you have the intent to serve, people connect.
Yes.
And talking about service, Eileen, when you were talking about teaching dance, you lit up. So tell us about your teaching experience and what have you learned from your students? And another question in that is that how have you seen that it has brought social harmony?
Well, the reason I light up is, as a nightclub promoter, and one of the few females, by the way, who was doing it, I would look out over the crowd and see so much happiness in the midst. People were singing and dancing and laughing and smiling and sweating and loving, sweating because it just meant that they were really getting into what they were doing. Mm-hmm. So what has brought me a lot of satisfaction is knowing that people have had a real boost in their social life, because especially as we mature, one of the warning signs of aging is being lonely. And when you come out dancing, you are part of a big, I don't really quite want to call it a family, but you're part of a big community. And so I would see people that were once wallflowers all of a sudden dancing with everyone or dating a lot of people, when before that they really weren't doing that, because that social skill is so important to making new friends, having a better image of yourself, because we almost all lose weight when we dance so much. And another part that I absolutely loved was being able to hire the best bands in the world to bring to the awareness of the people that I was teaching. So that was another, first of all, I've been so fascinated by the music for so long. And I want to give a quote that Tito Puente, who was, probably the best known person in Latin music, he was the timbal player. He said that the Palladium, which was really where all of this social dancing, the Latin social dancing, began back in the 40s. He said that the Palladium was the first instance of voluntary desegregation, because at the Palladium, and mind you, this was during the late 40s and early 50s, when, we were not intermingling, but at the Palladium, there were, of course, Latinos and African Americans, lots of Italians, lots of Jewish people, some Asians, just a wide mixture of people that came together for the express purpose of dancing and listening to this music. So what I have seen and what I marveled at last night, I was looking at the dance floor in Baltimore, and I was seeing, of course, Latinos, but there's almost as many African Americans dancing salsa now as there are Latinos, Asians, Middle Eastern people, of course, lots of people from Africa, lots of different denominations of Asians, Chinese, Japanese, Koreans, etc. And so what that has shown me is that we have common ground. And common ground is the music and the dancing. And when you meet people that you don't normally hang out with, you don't normally intermingle with, you don't normally associate with freely, all of a sudden you're learning about other people and different cultures, what they do, where they go, what they like, what they eat, and then you become immersed in a lot of different cultural aspects that you may have not been aware of. And all of a sudden, your life is enriched from knowing other people. And when I see these folks, another thing is seeing, old people dancing with really young people. How wonderful is that? Because a lot of times there is that discrimination of, older people, they only do these things and young people only do these things. But Latin music, we all do it together. And you can see someone 21 dancing with somebody who's 75.
You're absolutely right, because, whether it's music, art, in any form, or dance, it's got no language. It breaks down all the barriers and it connects us being human. And we forget. We get so caught up in identity sometimes. We are this and that, and then we forget that we are all connected. Each and every one of us has the same desires. Every one of us wants to be happy. When we experience pain, it has got no race, no color, and we are just human beings. And that's where art is so critical in bringing people together as human beings, rather than, to me, and I'm going to invite you to share your thoughts too, is that when we connect as human beings, that's when that music and dance and that art enters into that spiritual form and attains its highest level. What do you think about it, Armineh?
Research where they brought in teenagers and children who were from certain families who either their parents were in jail or they were orphans, and they did a research. And those children who studied art, either they took classes in music, it was just offered to them, it wasn't with money, but they were taking the classes in music and dance and paintings. All of them, they had a different way of thinking about life. Prior to that, they were thinking life is hard, and they had tendencies to possibly become criminals, and art totally changed that. There's more to that story, but I tried to say it in just a couple of sentences, and it was amazing. And the other part is I totally believe in creativity, because it takes you to a higher vibration. When we are dancing, as you said, Eileen, when we are dancing, when we are listening to music and we are feeling all those beautiful feelings, our vibrations go up and our consciousness goes up. And in our show, To Follow Your Heart, the very last one, the ending is, because it's been done before, so I'm not spoiling the ending. It says one culture, one race, one human race, one heartbeat, one culture, one race. I believe in the togetherness. And that's why, especially these days, especially with what is happening globally, we need to bring in more of the culture, more of the art, to bring in unity and harmony to everything and everyone.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, Armineh. Eileen, your thoughts?
Well, once again, I feel so strongly about what music and dance can do for people, because it touches everyone. And for instance, in Latin music, a lot of it is sung in Spanish. In fact, the majority is sung in Spanish. However, sometimes you hear it in French, sometimes you hear it in Wolof, because the roots of salsa music being in Africa has made this, complete 360, with the roots being in Africa. Now West Africa is producing, especially in Senegal, producing all these tremendous salsa orchestras, and they sing in a variety of languages, not like us in the United States that primarily speak one language, maybe two, but other nations speak many languages. So I really take a great deal of satisfaction, happiness, pride, joy, knowing that this music touches so many people, and knowing that you don't even have to understand one word that's being sung or spoken. because the music says it all. And there's many of the, there's a lot of dance music that's instrumental. So that just shows that you don't have to have words. But so it tells me, once again, that we are so interconnected, and sometimes we try to separate ourselves for some reason. But this music, this dance really brings us together, and it's bringing larger and larger swaths of people from different races, ethnicities, religions, cultures together, ages. You know, I have to stress that, ages, because some of the best dancers that I've seen have been like 70 and 80. I did an old school mambo tribute, and all of the people that were 80 and over came to show us the way they danced when they were younger, and the way that style has carried over into their days now when they're senior citizens. And what I saw was like, my God, we just need to dance until we drop dead. That's it. Because we're going to be happiest dancing.
Definitely. So, Armineh, if you want to share, where can people reach you? And if you want to give us one takeaway that our listeners can take it and implement it in their lives.
One takeaway I can offer and share is my 3D concept, which is desire, determination, and dedication. I believe that if we have all of those three, we can accomplish anything. You must have a desire level of at least 100%. Well, there is no at least, but 100%. For example, my desire level to dance was 100%. Then there is the determination. You have to decide that you're going to do it. Yeah, one day, I like it, maybe next year. No, you got to decide you're going to do it. And number 3, which is very important as well, is dedication. There's always challenges, whatever it is that we want to do. So no matter what, we're going to go through the challenge. So those 3, and it is in my book, if I may. It's called Joyous Wealth. And that is a book on financial. It's not exactly financial book. It's a story of 5 women who are from different socioeconomics and different backgrounds. And they come together and they talk about their fears, their power, their money, and so forth. That is my book, but we are here for the evolution. But I have used all the principles. 56, it says the subtitle is 56 Secrets to Riches and Wellness. And I am using all those secrets as well. So Evolution Dance Theater is, you can go to our website. We don't have a show just yet. And theater is THEATRE, the Canadian way of spelling, evolutiondancetheater.com. And they can reach us and see some pictures and trailers and see what we're all about.
Well, congratulations as you'll be moving to Las Vegas. We wish you all the best, Armineh.
I hope so. I don't know yet. Thank you so much.
Well, let's visualize that you'll be there, right?
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Eileen?
Well, I am finishing a book myself, and it has nothing to do. Everyone thinks that I'm writing a book on salsa music and history because I'm a salsa historian too. I do countless video lectures on different aspects of the history of Latin music, Latin social dance, etc. My book is on female empowerment in many areas, and it has to do with sex, it has to do with politics, it has to do with female dominant energy that has finally taken its place, and it's on its comeback. And in the book, I mentioned several things about salsa dancing because that's been so much part of my life, and the music has been so much part of my life. And even though I am phasing out of that in some respects, because I actually do a show on StreamYard like you, where I interview salsa musicians and industry professionals, so people have a greater appreciation for the music makers. Sometimes we forget how difficult it is to become a top level artist, a musician. And when you think that some of these musicians have practiced and studied for 50 and 60 years, you really think, gee, no wonder I like that music, because they're playing it so well. So, of course, that pops up in the book too. But talking about dance, we all know that in order to stay fit, in order to stay young, to stay vital, to stay robust, you have to move. And why not move rhythmically? Why not move to something that brings you joy? And like Armineh was saying, sometimes that music just takes you into orbit. It's like meditation. Because
absolutely. Eileen, you're sharing beautifully, but we are almost at the end of the show. So if you want to share where people could reach out to, that'll be great.
Yes, Eileen Torres Productions with an S, productions.com.
Lovely. And would you like to add anything else?
That this was a distinct honor to be invited onto this wonderful format that you have to share our thoughts about such a happy subject at a time when there is so much negativity flowing around us.
Well, thank you, Eileen. Thank you, Armineh, for joining us, and keep on dancing and bringing the joy into people's lives and connecting and uniting them.
Thank you so much, Divya. This was a real pleasure. I totally enjoyed being here and sharing our stories. I really appreciate it.
I enjoyed having y'all. So thank you both. And thank you, listeners, for joining us, because without you, the show is not show. The show is for you. And reach out to us and let us know if you would like to hear different stories and what type of stories you're looking for. And Rebel, thank you so much for making the show possible. Until next time, be powerful and take care.
Thank you.
Thank you for being part of Beyond Confidence with your host, Divya Parekh. We hope you have learned more about how to start living the life you want. Each week on Beyond Confidence, you hear stories of real people who have experienced growth by overcoming their fears and building meaningful relationships. During Beyond Confidence, Divya Parekh shares what happened to her when she stepped out of her comfort zone to work directly with people across the globe. She not only coaches people how to form heart connections, but also transform relationships to mutually beneficial partnerships as they strive to live the life they want. If you are ready to live the life you want and leverage your strengths, learn more at www.divyaparekh.com. And you can connect with Divya at contact@divyaparekh.com. We look forward to you joining us next week, Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time.